Joining us right now, Representative Andy Harris from Maryland. Good. Oh, no, he's not with us yet. I'm so sorry. Well, we're talking about Obamacare. Oh, he is with us. There we go. Hey, see there? That's how it goes. Representative Andy Harris, thanks for joining us this morning on Mornings on the Mall.
5 seconds too early.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, we've got a vote this week. Now, let me just catch everyone up to speed, and I'll explain what I think is happening. The president, of course, unilaterally just decided, well, that employer mandate, it's not going to work this year, so we're just going to put it off. First of all, there's a lot of question whether he can even legally do that. That being said, Republican majority in the House, part of your caucus, you've decided, listen, if it's okay to postpone the employer mandate, then we're just going to unilaterally postpone the employee mandate as well. Is that the vote that we're having this week?
That is the plan, but, you know, the other fly in the ointment is that, of course, one of the Court of Appeals issued an opinion last week on one of the Obamacare cases. And I think we have to make certain that whatever action we take doesn't impede the Obamacare cases that are circulating in the courts, because it was an interesting opinion that held that the employers who are suing do in fact have standing, and that this mandate is in fact a burden. And in fact, the fact that the president postponed it means that it is a burden, something that the Obama administration has been arguing against in court. In their briefs to the court, they've always said, no, there's no problem with it. It's not a burden. Now, all of a sudden, it's a burden.
Representative Harris, this almost seems like a put up or shut up moment. I mean, you've got the, excuse me, you've got a Gallup report right now saying that 52% of Americans view the Affordable Care Act as unpopular. It was passed in 2010, which is like 2 Congresses ago. Now this president comes in and he says, even though he championed the legislation, he's saying, well, we're going to postpone certain aspects of it, but we're going to continue the other aspects of it. Shouldn't the Congress just sort of force the administration at this point to say, listen, you either implement the law that you wanted or we're going to throw the whole thing out?
I personally think that's one of the other ways. That's one of the other ways that we could go. And again, we should make that decision based in light of the court opinions, because I think that this might be thrown out in court. And if it's not, I think you're right. Americans are approaching 2-to-1 against the idea of the individual mandate. They don't want to be told by the government what insurance they have to buy and where they have to buy it.
All right, so here's my question. The real reason that the Obama administration has basically said that we're going to postpone this is because they know it's going to be hugely unpopular, and that if employers are required to do that they will have to lay people off, and that's not going to be popular. They see that this is a disaster in the making, and they see that this disaster in the making is coming just before the next congressional elections. So there's a part of me that wonders, why don't you just go and say, Mr. President, you need to stick by your law or you need to change it. But that's not what they're doing. You're just trying to get them to do the same thing to the rest of it.
I agree with you, but this president, you know, he should have come to Congress and asked for a delay, because that's what Congress passed the law. I wasn't in Congress when the law was passed, but Congress spoke, and the president's supposed to carry out the law. The president doesn't get the chance to pick and choose which laws he wants to carry out. And
hold on, and Congressman, let me just stop you right there, because yes, he does. Because he's done it on immigration. He's doing it now on the employer mandate. And nobody in Congress ever holds him accountable for not enforcing the law of the land.
Well, you know, the problem is that we got Harry Reid over in the Senate. So we can do whatever we want in the House, but Harry Reid, who plots every day how to advance the president's agenda, is going to stop us in the Senate. But on every one of those counts that you talk about, the immigration case and the rest, there are cases in the courts where the courts may, in fact, finally tell this president, you don't get to do what you've been doing. You're not an emperor. You're not a king. King George was overthrown a long time ago. You can't get to pick and choose what laws you want to implement and how you want to implement them. And in the end, the courts may be, with a divided Congress and this president here for another 3.5 years, the courts may be the only hope.
Representative Andy Harris is our guest from Maryland, and we're talking about the Obamacare debacle, really, as it starts to think through. We've got Wegmans locally here saying they're not going to cut benefits for part-time employees. We're seeing restaurants shifting employment opportunities for their workers to part-time instead of full-time so that they can avoid having to provide health care. It seems to us, as we continue to look at these stories, Congressman Harris, that this is a great opportunity with the election looming to really reopen this. Is there any political will amongst the Republican caucus to really try to press this issue, despite Harry Reid over in the Senate?
Well, we are trying, again, this week's actions will try to press the issue with the American people. But look, I'm for taking a repeal vote every week until this bill finally gets repealed. We have to keep reminding Americans how bad this bill is. And again, 2-1 Americans are against an individual mandate by 2-1. We should be hammering that point home every week and from now until Election Day.
And I mean, there's also a privacy concern. We've just seen this story where the IRS has now admitted that they've gone after and looked at the private political donation records of candidates and office holders. We've got all the other privacy concerns that the IRS debacle has opened up. And meanwhile, the IRS, they're going to be the ones who are going to be enforcing this law. I mean, are people's health records at risk when this thing goes into place?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. And the administration will deny it, just like they've been denying for the past 2 months that they've gone after donors and they've gone after political organizations. The fact of the matter is the government is collecting huge amounts of data. It is time to abolish the IRS. It's just that simple. You can't trust a government agency with that much information and that much power. It's just against what the founding principles of the country are, and it is time to seriously look. And I believe that right now, if you ask the American people, I think a majority would agree it's time to get rid of the IRS.
Have you been watching I know it's way off topic, but have you been watching, as everyone has, this Zimmerman case?
Well, I haven't been watching day by day, but it's honestly, you can't turn on any news program now without 90% of it taken up by the Zimmerman case. Again, we miss the forest for the trees to a large extent with all the huge issues going on in the world, with unrest in the Middle East. We're hung up on this one case where this one fellow was in fact found not guilty by a jury. That's the way the American law system works. Get over it.
Well, what would be your reaction if indeed the Justice Department comes after him on his civil rights?
I have to tell you, that would be purely political, and we would have to look at ways to rein in the Justice Department. Again, a lot of people feel the Justice Department is run amok. They are doing things they shouldn't be doing and not doing things they should be doing. As someone has said, for them not to have prosecuted the Black Panthers in Philadelphia that for their voting intimidation, and now to consider going after a person who, under our system, has been found not guilty, it's incredulous.
All right, Representative Andy Harris, thanks so much for joining us. Great stuff, and have fun this week. It sounds like you're going to have a good week on the Hill.
Oh, it will be. Thank you.